Now, the constant mixed messaging from the White House. The president is trying to clear up the confusion now, 5 days after calling millions of Americans semi-fascist, ultra MAGA, and then when he was in Pennsylvania a couple days ago, rolling out a new one, calling people that voted for Donald Trump Trumpies. The president tweeting this a day ago. I want to be crystal clear. Not every congressional Republican is a MAGA Republican. I know because I've worked with many mainstream Republicans, but and there's always a but, an extreme set of MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to take us backwards. Together, we can choose a different path. For more on what that means, let's welcome back in our friends, the former chairwoman of the Nevada State GOP and Newsmax contributor Amy Tarkanian, Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps, and Georgia Congressman Jack Kingston back with us. Great to have you back on. Congressman, good to see you. I'm wondering what you make of this this rollback. Apparently, semi-fascist, ultra-MAGA, and Trumpies is not working. So now the president and the administration are saying, no, no, no. This is just directed at members of Congress and senators, members of the Senate, lawmakers whose policies we disagree with. Is that going to work, that change in messaging?
I don't think it is. You know, Joe Biden is like the drunk brother-in-law at the wedding rehearsal where you're just afraid, please don't make a toast, please don't stand up, please don't say anything, because every day it's a new mistake or gaffe that he makes. You know, you can't change him. Only with the liberal media can you get away with it if you're a Democrat, but you can't do that with normal people where you call everybody an extreme MAGA, a semi-fascist on one day, and then the next day say, oh, shucks, I didn't mean it. You know, this isn't middle school. You can't do that when you're the commander-in-chief. You have to be more consistent. But this is why candidates in the swing states do not want to be on the platform with him when he comes to campaign rallies in their states. They're always sick. They always have a scheduling conflict because they don't know what the heck this guy's going to say.
Yeah, good point. And then that drunk brother-in-law doesn't get invited to the wedding the next day. You know, they peel him out of there at the rehearsal, and then you never see him again. Amy, what do you make of this? Because the president, I mean, with that his Mussolini speech last Thursday, you know, lit up in all red, that image is not going to go away. That image is going to be a lasting image from today right on through November the 8th. Will this change? Will this shift in messaging work?
Well, I think it's going to backfire, and it's already backfired, and that's why we're still talking about this almost a week later, and he's still having to clean up after himself and try to clarify what he actually, you know, supposedly meant in the first place. If he truly meant that it was just the elected leaders that he was, you know, aiming this horrible speech at, then he should have said that from the get-go. So I think he has now had backlash probably from both sides of the aisle, and that's why he's now trying to backpedal.
Yeah, and to the congressman's point, we saw it on Monday in Wisconsin. The president was in Milwaukee. This candidate who's running against Senator Ron Johnson in a very close race, Mandela Barnes, he was invited to campaign with Biden in Milwaukee, didn't show up. He had a scheduling conflict. And the other troubled candidate is to the east of that in Pennsylvania, Chris, it's John Fetterman. Joe Biden was in Pennsylvania 3 times in a 6-day period. Fetterman appeared with him 1 time. Says he won't debate Dr. Oz because he hasn't recovered from his stroke fully. What do you make of this? Does the name calling help the administration? And the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, by the way, which is John Fetterman's hometown newspaper, they called out Fetterman. They said, look, there are legitimate concerns, you can see it right there, about Fetterman's health. Once people start to tune into the midterms. Go ahead,
And
Amy.
remember, Biden actually said, you know, about Fetterman, he couldn't even remember his name. And he said, the big guy who's running for governor.
Yeah,
He didn't even have the correct race.
Chris, good point. Amy, good point. Yeah. Chris, your take.
You know, Rob, not only was that background, that red background of the speech very disturbing last week, but was also disturbing was the station of the Marine Guards behind him. You know, what kind of message does that send to the American people? Look, Joe Biden made a big mistake calling 70% or half of Americans fascists. I think this is, as Amy said, this is not playing well with their crowd. And that's the reason why Fetterman and Democratic candidates all around the country don't want to be seen with him. This was his baskets of deplorable comment, just like Hillary did in 2016. And I don't think he's going to recover from it, just like Hillary didn't recover from her comment.
Can Dr. Oz capitalize? Take a listen to what CNN had to say yesterday about John Fetterman's health.
Fair to wonder whether Fetterman is 100% or whether he's going to make a full recovery from that stroke that he had 3 months ago. He's really been shielded from the media thus far. One of the interviews that he did was with closed captioning. He's done 2 public events. He spoke for about 10 minutes at one of them and 4 minutes at another. So, people rightfully, I think, want to know, how's he doing?
Congressman, to you.
Yes, I do. I think those are legitimate questions. I'm shocked that CNN would actually air that. But I think there are also questions about Fetterman. Here's a guy who wants to defund the police. Here's a guy who wants to legalize just about every drug that's out there. And he's against fracking. In Pennsylvania, fracking is over 650,000 jobs, and John Fetterman is against it. So, not to mention, here's this kind of ne'er-do-well who lived off of his family's trust fund, I guess, until he was 40 years old. Now he's walking around with a hoodie on, pretending like he's every man. He's just a phony. And I think Dr. Oz has a legitimate American story that he can talk about, that people can identify with. And what we're going to see now that we're past Labor Day is a rise in Dr. Oz in the polls, along with these other candidates as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the thing about Dr. Oz, too, they were criticizing him because he has, 10 houses or something like that. Look, this guy comes from an immigrant family, put himself through school, became a doctor, super successful, successful television show. He's made a lot of money. He was a successful physician and businessman. Isn't that somebody you want running your state versus somebody who bought his house off his sister for $1 and collected an allowance from his parents until his mid-40s? Go ahead, Chris.
Rob, I also think, too, that Fetterman's illness also brings up a question of truthfulness. If you remember at the beginning when he had this stroke, they were trying to downplay it and said that it wasn't a big deal, when we later found out that it was. And now he won't campaign, and we're seeing him do campaign stops where he is, not using complete sentences. So I think this comes to a question of truthfulness for Fetterman and his campaign.
Well, I also think just the irony is there, too. They want to send him, Pennsylvania voters, if you look at the polls, are fine with sending him to the Senate for 6 years, but he can't debate Dr. Oz for an hour on live TV at a local station in Pennsylvania. Raises a lot of questions. Congressman, to your point, I think people are Labor Day has come and gone. People are kind of back in the routine now, and they'll start to tune in to elections in their respective states, and I think these polls will start to swing in a big way. Amy Tarkanian, Congressman Jack Kingston, and Chris Arps, great to have you back on. Look forward to doing it again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a lot